Welcome to another Atchman Kings of War battle report. RATMEGGEDON! Empire of Dust versus the Ratkin. 4,000 points. The scenario was raise. Instead of trying to put the armies out there like I normally do with the army list and stuff, I think I'll just do a narration of this battle because it's so big and some of the units are just almost irrelevant because they just get swallowed up in the huge rush of models. My Ratkin army was maxed out. We had 12 hordes, 4 hordes of shock troops, 4 of warriors, and 4 of wretches. I also had 4 units or regiments of vermintide. So I had a lot of stuff. As you see on here on my deployment, I put one of my vermintide units, the warlock with the boomstick down here, and then the tunnel runners regiment with brew of sharpness. Besides that, Scud is there, and then a brood mother is there, and along with the mutant rat fiend. So I had a lot of stuff on this end trying to push forward into Craig's flank. Craig on the opposite end, he is loaded up. He had Shobik over there. He had 2 behemoths. And then he had a unit of Ushabti, I forgot. It's Slave Guardians over there on that end. So it's kind of the same thing. We were just going to end up twisting around the middle here. Over on that flank, I just had stuff to throw at him. There was nothing. I had nothing over there that could kill Shobik anyway. So, or probably even the behemoths. So I just kind of put units over there to hold it in place. The middle, I thought, was maybe my weakest point, but it turned out it was actually pretty good the whole time because I had more of the shock troops there in the middle, and they're pretty choppy. Knowing what I know now, I probably would have put the shock troops further to the front and not trapped behind all the warriors and the wretches. But it's hard to tell. The game, we had so many models on the table that it was really difficult, to do anything except go straight forward. So that's really, matter of fact, we didn't even alternate on our deployment. I just told him I'm just going to not look up and just put stuff on the table. In the middle of my list, you can see my Tangle is sitting there, which is my old Screaming Bell. On this end of the table for Craig, he had a unit of mummies, 2 bone giants, some cavalry with bows. I think his revenants are there. A unit of carrion, I forgot what they're called, I'm sorry, scavengers. And then he had, I believe that was Sebek Ray that he had on this end. In the middle, he had his monolith, and everything else I think was just skeletons. Skeleton archers and some skeleton spearmen, some just regular skeletons. He also had 2 catapults to rain death upon me. And over on the very far end, he also had a whole regiment of skeleton archers that were going to shoot me up pretty good during this game. All right, here's a little close-up of my right flank. You can see the Scud, a mutant rat fiend, the tunnel runners with brew of sharpness, vermintide there in front of them to shield him from some shooting, which turned out not to really be a threat. Then I had a unit of wretches and a unit of warriors side by side with each other. The only way I can tell the difference between them is the warriors have banners and the wretches are just plain. And behind them are 2 hordes of shock troops. They're pretty lethal guys. And so, I really was loaded up on this flank. The problem was actually getting anything to bear to fight is what was going to be the problem this entire game. And then in the very back is my brood mother. She's there to pump the mutant rat fiend back up in case he gets shot up. All right, when I deployed the middle, I really thought it was a little weak. But then on the other hand, Craig had just skeletons units on the other side, so it wasn't that bad. I did put one of my warlocks there. I think he had the conjurer staff, and then the Ratkin special character was there, and a weapons team. The Tango was also there, and he helps a lot, with leadership and things like that. And so the middle wasn't as bad as I thought it was, as the game started to go. My left-hand side, it had one thing to do. Just keep delaying all of those behemoths and Shobik and all those guys on that side. So all that's over here are warriors, wretches, a couple of vermintide units, 1 weapons team. And I did have another warlock over here. I think they had Bane Chant. So there was no way that these guys were going to stand up to Craig's power flank over there, but their goal was to delay while my power flank did the same thing to his army. On Craig's right flank, he had 2 behemoths, a unit of enslaved guardians, one of his units of skeleton archers, Shobik, one of the catapults, and then he had another unit of horse archers there to try to knock down some of my immense numbers. So Craig's middle was very much like my middle, which is just put some stuff there to hold off while each of our flanks did most of the damage. And his middle was fairly weak with just skeletons there. But again, mine on the opposite side wasn't much better, so I knew this was going to be a slap fight. He does have his soul snare there, and that thing's pretty good as far as being able to keep his units from taking too much damage from my army. Matter of fact, my shooting was just almost irrelevant this entire game, except over here on his extreme left, where he was away from any kind of drain life or heal or anything like that. So there's only really one place on the whole table that my shooting actually did something. So Craig put 2 bone giants, a unit of mummies, one of his horse archer units, and the revenants, plus his scavengers there. The big thing is a monolith, so he was able to push those units in his army forward. His army kind of suffered the same thing mine did. I had a big chunk of terrain right in the middle of my deployment area, and he ended up with one as well. But his giant was small enough to fit around the edge of it, which was cool. But he would have had to have lined up both of them, I guess, to get him around there pretty quick. So anyway, it was kind of fun to see how we both navigated around those pieces of terrain. So during his turn, Craig pretty much did not move forward because he did have a missile fire advantage over me, and so it doesn't really make sense to. So anyway, he ended up wavering one of my Vermintide units, I think with his catapult. And of course that slowed me down a little bit trying to get around that unit. But when you got a game this big, it is hard to find a place. And I think somebody pointed out to me that you should never take those little units like that in one of these big games because there's just so much stuff going on. And it's so easy to waver them. And with no room on the table, you ended up just being stuck. Over here on the left, Craig went ahead and moved his one of his bone giants into my Vermintide swarm. And he's trying to jam me up so I can't get my tunnel runners out into the middle of the table and do mean things to them. The unit of mummies got surged into, I think that's a unit of slave. I know it's a unit of slave, a unit of wretches, and they were holding that objective. And Craig is, like I said, he's just trying to jam me up where I can't get out there and do anything against his army. I did move forward pretty strongly on the left side here, and the reason why is because I was trying to keep him away from that token that's here in the kind of the middle left, and I want him to have to wade through all those units. I mean, that's one of those units is a unit of, the one on the right in the middle is a unit of shock troops, and then over to the left is a unit of wretches with a unit of warriors behind them. The thing is that unit of wretches is going to have a pretty good leadership because of the rally of both of those other 2 units. So they're not totally lame as far as the ability to take a charge. Okay, during Craig's turn, his bone giant just rolled abhorrent and did a few wounds to my Vermintide, and the Vermintide held. So that was actually the worst thing possible for my army, was the Vermintide holding and jamming. I mean, God, there's like 1,000 points of stuff right there on that corner, and I cannot get out of that corner because he's done such a good job wrapping me up there. Here in the middle, I did have a flank charge into his unit of mummies with my wretches, but I'm going to tell you something. Wretches really are bad troops. They are just horrible. And running against those armor 5 mummies, their odds of doing anything is really low. In the middle here, I am pushing forward strongly, trying to get to that middle objective. And that's my goal, because in this scenario, literally, if nobody moves, you could just win the thing by taking the middle objective. And so that was my plan there, but there's really not a lot of combat power there. But if you see just to the left of the tangle, there is a unit of shock troops, and then I had a little bit of shooting there, but shooting was just not working out because every time I would shoot him, the soul snare would suck some wounds off of me and then heal his guys back up. The embarrassing thing for Craig is that my Vermintide actually did like 3 or 4 wounds to his bone giant, which I thought was funny as heck. But like I said, I couldn't do anything else, and he had me. He went ahead and charged his revenants into the flank of my unit of wretches and wavered them. I don't know how he didn't kill. I guess it's because he was hindered. Is the reason why he didn't. So it's just a jam over here. I could not bring my combat power. I probably should have just stuck them in the middle, or stuck one of them in the middle to try to bust through his middle section. But I don't know. He did a good job of buttoning me up, I have to admit. In the middle, Craig moved up very strongly to contest my advance on the middle token, and that was a good thing. And so, like I say, now we're getting into where we're actually going to have a little bit of a battle here, which is going to be a lot of fun with just so many troops on both sides swinging. You know, you're sitting there throwing just chunks of dice at each other, and it's just a blast. Over here on my left flank, Craig was doing something kind of cool with the behemoths. He would move one. He moved one up into attack, and then the other one, which had drain life, came in and drained life, and then he surged him into my unit of wretches there. And that wasn't going to be good because wretches are really bad. And but that was a clever plan there. He did do some wounds. Matter of fact, quite a few wounds to my unit of shock troops that were up on the hill, because he could see me so clearly. And I was just having trouble, like I said, getting out of my own way with the terrain that was there and everything. So that unit was actually pretty well beat up at that point. Since both in my flanks couldn't do anything, one was defending and one was attacking without hurting anything. I made a massive attack in the middle and started engaging all of his skeleton units one-on-one, and it was not going to be good. I mean, the thing is my guys can't hardly hurt anything except for my unit of shock troops. The rest of them are just going to be in a slap fight with the skeletons, and then he's going to just heal them back by using the soul snare. So the chances of me actually getting anything there was really small. Okay, during Craig's turn, he had managed to be able to surge his other bone giant into my Scud, who had moved up foolishly up too close, and so he had taken a lot of damage, but he lived to tell about it. Also, in my turn, I was able to finally kill off of all of his mummies, and I just left the wretches there because I knew he couldn't move anywhere. I mean, he just didn't have. I mean, it's just no place he could move without killing them, which was fine because that was actually going to limit their speed as opposed to enhance it. Finally, in my turn, the turn of retribution, the Scud and the Tunnel Runners easily vanquished both bone giants this time. I mean, Scud is a nasty son of a gun, and those Tunnel Runners with Brew of Sharpness are no slouch either. And so I was able to move forward there. I think I'd actually drained life on something and probably got one wound back. The one of my units, I think my unit of warriors, charged into his revenants that had just killed the unit of wretches. I brought both of my magic users up to my warlocks to the top of the hill and start to shoot those characters down there into those archers in the very back. But again, it would take me so long to get through this flank that I wasn't going to really be able to use any of the troops that are back there very well. All right, if you remember that thing called my left flank, it's pretty much gone at this point. I did have my a unit of, I think it's my shock troops. Were they shock troops? Yeah, they're my shock troops are sitting in the swamp, trying to hold that one objective there, and everything else is engaged along the front. And it's just really a dice rolling contest this time. I did manage to get my Vermintide to charge his archers so they wouldn't shoot anymore, but I don't think I caused any wounds. So yeah, my overwhelming attack in the middle, it actually went very well because I had Bane Chant on the from the Tangle, and I was able to also Bane Chant the shock troops, and then they whacked right through the units of skeletons in front of them. So now I was really threatening his middle with his two characters there, his soul snare in there, and then the my biggest problem is I couldn't really exploit it because I'm stuck so far behind everything else. But I'm guessing with him swinging in on my left flank there, that having those guys in reserve was probably a good thing, as opposed to bemoaning the fact that I'm kind of stuck. But one of my shock troop units is now facing toward the flank of his revenants, and they are definitely going to be in trouble. So yeah, Craig continues to pound on my left flank. The unit of shock troops that was in the swamp that was holding that objective, they died this turn, and so that was a bad thing. The enslaved guardians didn't fail to kill my unit of warriors over there, but I had I think I had some inspiring support there. But you can see Shobik and the other behemoth is getting ready to come into my flank. Well, at least eventually they will, anyway. I don't recall if Craig rolled Snake Eyes with his guardians, but there's 24 wounds on him, and they're still there. I'm guessing that's what happened. That was unfortunate, but I just don't remember that happening. But that was pretty funny to hold out on this flank over here. But I mean, we're playing for these tokens, and he has one token that's right there next to that impassable terrain, and then he's got my token here on this side in the swamp. And as we get toward the end of the game, my Ratkin have now formed square around the unit of the Tangle unit that's up on the hill there. And he had drained and shot the heck out of my unit there in the middle, but I had so much rally around him, it was hard to take him out. His monolith had moved up in front to protect the flank of his revenants, and I beat on it a little bit, but that thing is so tough, and I don't really think I rolled all that well to knock it down. So over here, the sacrifice of the monolith helped out, but eventually the Scud and the tunnel runners finally moved forward, and you finally see my mutant rat fiend has moved out of its stupid deployment zone, because I was so stuck up with there in that turn with him that I just couldn't get free. But now I've moved into that woods over there where his revenants were. All right, this is the last shot of the game. He had totally wiped out my left flank, and I had totally wiped out his right flank. So now we're just kind of spinning around the middle this turn and trying to get back into the fight. But at this point in time, we just decided to call it as a draw, and went out and just enjoyed having the rest of our evening to ourselves. Sometimes it's just fun to play a game like this where you just get out a lot of your figures and just go for it. We were going to do 5,000 points, but at 5,000 points, I couldn't fit my whole army on the table in the deployment zone. I would have had to have, I would have had to swap some stuff out, maybe even proxy some models to use some of these points at 5,000. So, and I easily have probably 7,000 or more models in my Ratkin army. So, and I'm not talking about with Magic, I'm talking about real models. So, that would have been, that's another day that we get all the rats out and get a bunch of multiple people trying to beat on them. That might be fun too. I don't know how we ended up. The game was a draw. I don't know how it ended up, because I had started having a few too many malted beverages early in the day, and by the end of this game, I don't even recall that I taken those last pictures. So Craig said we had a draw. I believe him, and we go on. But we both just had an absolute blast. I think we laughed the whole time of this game at just the stupid stuff going on. And his right flank, man, it just came cruising through my left flank. But he has such good surge support there, and his shooting really did a good job on wiping out the best unit I had over there was a unit of shock troops, and he absolutely hammered those guys. The whole, with the catapult. So that was a good thing. The middle, I had him in the middle. If I would have put the shock troops in the front, I would have blown right through him so fast it wouldn't even have been funny. So the biggest problem I had was over on the right flank, where that one little piece of terrain is that kind of divided me up. But that also jammed me in place, and Craig did a masterful job of keeping me from getting out, because I think if my tunnel runners would have got out in the middle, it would have been game over, because these things are just like they just steamroll through everything, and plus them and the Scud, it's just almost an overwhelming combination there. Plus I had the Mutant Rat Fiend there with the Radiance of Life to heal back, and all that inspiring, and Rally 2 over that corner. I should just be able to roll right through him. But like I said, Craig absolutely just stopped me up this game. and I just couldn't get free. And so at the end of the game, I had killed that whole flank was dead, and but I mean, it was the same thing as he had the same problem over here on his right flank, is that he killed everything in front of him, but then he still couldn't, in 6 turns or 7 turns, whatever we had, couldn't get to the middle, the absolute middle objective, which would have been the last one to fall. So anyway, the game was a good game. Like I said, it was just fun to play. That was the whole point. It really, I hope we weren't being a competitive game, because all I did was laugh, I think, the whole time. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the battle report, and just hope you enjoy looking at the pictures, because it was a really fun game. And I mean, I forgot how many. I figured it out one day how many Skaven I had. I mean, Ratkin I had on the table, and it was a huge number. I think like 470 something models on my side of the table alone. So anyway, wait till the next battle report. Hope you'll watch it, and have a good day.